Welcome back to the Stuff for Whatever podcast. Yo, it's BQuanchi here. Before we get started, I always like to say the best way to support me and the channel is to like, comment, and subscribe. You can get it on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch are the three main ones. Links in the description of the videos about on the channel, all that. On Twitch, I do stream gaming, and those game VODs you can upload it to YouTube. And you can follow Twitter for other fun tweets and updates like when I go live and all of that. But yeah, I just felt like recording a solo podcast this week. Sometimes I feel kind of lame just doing this, but it's fun in a sense. It makes me think and like helps practice talking, I guess, because I was not the best speaker. But I don't know, it's just like I had some growth on the channel, I think, for other reasons. But notice some other things kind of get a little bump in views in terms of like stream VODs and stuff like that, which I kind of wish would be a little bit more eventful. Because I don't know, if you're listening right now, go and if you like to watch Twitch streamers, just follow my Twitch, give it a follow. I would like more interaction with that. It is kind of fun because I've been having ideas for videos I want to do, more commentary. I'm really lazy about it, but it's also on the same thought is that since the channel isn't like as big, like I don't know, it's just because I also work a full-time job and I sometimes have like that burnout or just like, hey, I want to just relax versus like working on this, working on that. But have some ideas, and it's just more like I have to write stuff out, record it, edit it, which is very simple. Like I think that's also part of the kind of mental blockage too. Is like if I do it, it's not gonna. I said do, but if I do it, it's not gonna be as good. But I think it still have some substance. Like I've been like doing the shorts as well, just because it's. I think just because it's short to get more attention, because sometimes I think YouTube just throws them out. Like, oh, it's this short. Like, viewers are probably going through like 50 of these or more a day. So I noticed like those are getting some attention. Sadly, like some of them, like I've been doing like quick reviews and I might point to the stream where I played this game. Or if I did like a video essay, commentary, and point to that, it feels like the short actually gets more ad revenue, or I'm not sure how shorts work in terms of being a viewer because I don't really watch shorts myself, but it feels like those are getting a little bit more profitable versus like doing an hour stream and uploading it to YouTube. And like but I mentioned that too because what I really want to do one of these days is do a stream playing video game version of Deal or No Deal, because I've been watching that lately on occasion. It makes good background noise because I have on the Roku, my smart TV, I think it's Pluto, that has like a bunch of like these, like the game show one or this Comedy Central one. There's also like old syndicated stuff, but some good stuff too. But they have a Deal No Deal channel, and you can like watch it and like I like play the video game version on stream and have like chat kind of influence my decisions and like what case to take. Also, how long has that show been off the air? Because I think a lot of people at least know the concept of Deal No Deal. I think there's like mobile games too that I'm not sure if it's still popular or not, but that's just one thing I really want to do is just do a interactive like community based or chat based Deal No Deal on Twitch. But I'm fun. I've been doing some more retro stuff. I am due to make another series. I don't know, I've been telling like it's basically one of my other mantras is I'm throwing spaghetti at the wall. So doing this little that. I've been also having a lot of fun doing like gameplay videos. It's kind of like more shorter form Let's Play styles. That I upload every Wednesday. And a lot of times I do this like in chunks. So it's like helps. I don't know. I kind of like has that fun moment of producing content. And a lot of it's indie game demos. Like, oh, this is cool. So I kind of like, even though a lot, I would say most of it is my first impressions of it. So it's kind of like, sometimes I'm worried like I don't have a personality. I'm not entertaining all that. But it's kind of like more real genuine. And sometimes I like to get my 2 cents or 3 cents or a nickel if I'm feeling feisty. But it's just like, hey, I'm not... Maybe I should try to play it up a little bit just to be entertaining. But a lot of times it's just more honest. It's more, I guess, real. I don't know. But I'm just nobody in there. But don't follow me, subscribe. I'll be your best friend, you know, and all that. But I'm just thinking about that with the YouTube and stuff like that. I guess one thing to start off with this podcast is that I recently binged the show Aggretsuko. I'm totally messing up. Aggretsuko. I gotta say that it's the one show on Netflix. I know it used to be a TBS short, which I vaguely remember because I was like researching stuff like to Aggretsuko. Yeah, because Retsuko is the main character. But it had like very short things on TBS, and then it became a Netflix series. Pretty cool. I like it a lot. I believe it's San Rio, the same company that does Hello Kitty, and it, even though it's like not really quote unquote adult show, I feel like it's more geared towards adults just because it's like working and all that, like working an office job. So I think a lot of the themes, like I'm sure younger audience can appreciate just fine, but I feel like it kind of clicks, like when it comes to like relationships and worried about like a ticking clock with getting married. So, and it just had its fifth and final season, I think a little bit earlier this year. I enjoyed it. I kind of like heard of it before. I never really dived into it because I know like part of it is like her reaching out doing karaoke for death metal kind of music. Yeah, I think death or black metal, whatever you want to call it. But really fun series. I kind of like how each season is like kind of has some structure to it. I think some of the early episodes were much shorter, and then they kind of got a little bit longer. I think up to season three. I think season three is one of the best seasons, but four I thought was kind of eh, and five was better, but I felt like there was some pacing issues, and I kind of wish they would kind of like touch on this and touch on that. Like, and not too much spoilers, because I also kind of want to do like a tier ranking videos of all the characters in the Netflix series show of Aggretsuko. Yeah, I feel like season three ended really strong because they had like recurring like will they won't they with Retsuko and Haida, and it's like it ended like sometimes like okay they're gonna get together. Then like season four, it felt like they took like 20 steps back. And like okay, and finally they kind of pulled back together. But like I said, there was like some things that I felt like were rushed or not really elaborated on. Like one of the big parts of season five, Retsuko gets like talked into running for a I don't know. It's a Japanese show, so I forget what the terms is when it comes to like elections. Like I guess like more sense like representative, and she kind of fell into that. And I kind of felt they could have like talked more like how learning, because kind of like I think a lot of the shows like her just working in accounting, kind of being like an office girl and wants to get married so she can not work anymore, but I feel like they kind of touch on being like more career driven or more what she wants out of life in terms of do I just want to get married or do I want to do like more impactful stuff? And they have little bits of like her like talking about like political stuff, but like she was like cramming stuff or like learning about it. But I feel like it was very like small tidbit with the season. And like one thing, there's like a scene where like Haida almost gets hit by a truck. I think he does. He does get hit by a truck, but not like critically injured and stuff like that. And then they kind of brush it off like, "Oh, that wasn't me," you know, her political opponent and stuff like that. So I think they could have made it a lot more interesting. Season four, again, I think that's the weakest one, but it still kind of plays this true to the series. So it's not like it's like taking too much away. She's not giving much in a sense because you can still get the characters and interaction and stuff like that. So it feels like I don't know. It feels very consistent throughout five seasons, but I think four story wise is more the weaker point. I do recommend it. I think also kind of like thinking about that more because it makes me think about like my life because you know it's kind of like a sitcom thing where it's like oh so I'm working an office job or like goals in terms of career like getting promoted. I had like debt with the big. I think that was one of the big. Was it season 3 or 4? I forget. But when Retsuko gets a lot of debt, and that was like a big thing. And this makes me think about my debt and my choices in terms of like career, education, all that. So I've been kind of a little bummed about that. And I said a long time ago on like a very old podcast, but no one's really listening. But I feel like college was a huge waste. Even though I did get a degree, it is worthless to me, and I still am paying off the debt. And I feel like that's just the trouble. I'm not sure whether it comes with like other countries, but at least in like America, I feel like either the school's like very good or very. I don't know. It feels like it's like causing a big obstacle, like putting you in a giant sinkhole as soon as you become an adult, like being a mountain of debt and digging out of a hole and all that. Because I kind of wish I could have made better choices. Not that I really made bad choices. It's just like if I really knew what I wanted to do and I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it's too late. Like I'm not like too old, but kind of in my mid 30s. But it's actually funny because I always wanted to get in game design because I even went to one of those colleges. Like when they played out of G4, like, oh, can you believe you get to do this for a living? But I guess I did put out there like I dropped out of gamer school, even though I still love gaming and all that. And I got a degree in veterinary medicine, more like a assistant kind of thing. Or I forget. I can pull up my degree. I still have in my closet, but I went to veterinary, which was kind of great, but it definitely didn't pay well, and then it didn't work out in terms of jobs. So versus finding a new position, other stuff happened. So I think part of me kind of wishes like the YouTube thing or Twitch would become something more, not just to have like the extra supplemental income or even a majority of income. Because sometimes I like freak out and worry, like, if this becomes big, taxes and retirement and insurance and stuff like that. I'm not sure like other creators like manage all that, like to make sure like, okay, I have to pay taxes on this so the IRS won't like come at me 5 years later, or hey, if this goes down, do I have a savings, or if I'm 60, 70, what's going to be my money to live off of. So sometimes I worry about that too. So, but yeah, I don't know, I've been just kind of in a bum mood. I think like some things I would really like to do is kind of like be a platform for like indie games. Like, oh, I'm gonna play this game on stream. I'm playing on a channel, or like review that, and people like, listen. I think part of my mentality is like, check this out. I think this is cool. Like, oh, that is cool, kind of thing. Or playing something old and retro, maybe even obscure. Like, oh, I remember that, or I never even heard of that. And I grew up playing Super NES or whatever. So I don't know. I guess like part of it is like want to be heard or just want to be a little bit noticed and all that. I'm not just like too constantly bummed about it, but you never know. I've been seeing growth on the channel, and I just like that weird kind of area where you see views, but it's probably not what you're really putting out. Just like other like meme stuff or other stuff, and it's like if I had the interaction on community and stuff like that. I'm getting way ahead of myself too, but just kind of like some pipe dream that, I guess it's like never too late, but I kind of wish I would get into like more writing, or I don't know, like even like being stupid and daydreaming and stuff like that. Like have an idea for a cartoon show, even like I'm no artist myself, so it'd be like more writing and working with others. But I don't know. This is one of the things that got me thinking. Just like just binge watching Aggretsuko makes you think of like career and work and life goals and stuff like that. So that's a fun recommendation and all that. Another thing I wanted to kind of talk about more, kind of cartoon related, but just talking about like cartoon reboots and revivals and stuff like that. Because I've been kind of hankering. I need to rewatch it because I saw the trailer for this kind of, like when you're on your phone, you're like looking on Twitter, like, oh, the Tiny Toons Adventure reboot is coming out. Actually, they have some footage. That with like Clone High, but that's more of a revival. But I'm kind of curious about the Tiny Toons. I believe it's more of a reboot because I've seen some snippets of it where it's like different art style. I think it stays true to a lot of it, but one of my main concerns is that it looks like it might be lean on that wacky humor where they do like go off model for expression and things like that, which can work a lot. But I think a lot of modern takes in terms of like more cartoony cartoons versus like Disney when it had like a more story arc like the Owl House or Gravity Falls. But I feel like maybe it's like more Cartoon Network, maybe Nickelodeon too, where they kind of go off model to like, oh, we're making a wacky expression or face. Like, I think a good example of it done well is that old SpongeBob bit where Patrick's like, who are you calling Pinhead? And he makes a real face. But I think that works well. Like, I think if the show's like set up for that, it works well. I think Child is a good example. Maybe like Flapjack as well. So it feels like, okay, it's not too out of the ordinary. So maybe Tiny Toons would be like that as well. At least the reboot. Guys, I think they only tried to reboot it. This is the first time actually rebooting it. Also, speaking of Tiny Toons, I highly recommend if you ever want to like watch old Tiny Toons cartoons. They have a movie, How I Spent My Summer Vacation. I do recommend that. I'm not sure where you can watch that. I remember as a kid that was a favorite, as well as the DuckTales. The one with the magic lamp. Is like a movie. I'm not sure if it's like a a theatrical release, but they had a cool DuckTales movie about the magic lamp. I think they even referenced that in one of the episodes of the reboot. Oh yeah, that's another one. The DuckTales reboot was really good too. I think when it comes to like revivals and reboot, I think revivals kind of stay true to the original and kind of feels like a new season versus like a new show. Because you've seen like Futurama did that. I think it's doing it twice now. I think the Futurama reboot is coming out. I think King of the Hill is going to be a reboot. It'd be weird if it was different. Because I think even Beavis and Butthead that got revived. And Clone High, I've seen trailers. I haven't seen too much of it in terms of like listening to all that. But I feel like it's like updated. So a lot of stuff like it's going to be updated visually, but still pretty true. Versus like some cartoons do it like really differently. Like Teen Titans Go. Like it's a lot different than Teen Titans. I guess that's a decent reboot. I know a lot of people have their criticisms with it. I think just with the direction of it. I'm trying to think of other reboots too. Because like Animaniacs, I think that would be more like a revival, which I really like. I think I still have some more episodes to watch of that. But even Looney Tunes, like I think they rebooted that 3 times, depending on how you view it. Because one, I guess, quote unquote reboot of Tiny Toons, not Tiny Toons, but Looney Tunes, is the Looney Tunes show where they kind of went more for like a sitcom-y kind of style, in a sense that there's kind of like a whole episode like based on like Daffy and Bugs being roommates or like having relationships or this and that. So I kind of like that a lot. I actually think that's one of my favorite reboots, especially like in Looney Tunes related. I don't even know if they had like some really cringe parts that what do you call it? Like they had like shorts that was like musicals, and a good example you can look it up. The Elmo Fudd grilled cheese, like that's very cringe. Right? I feel like you get more developed characters, so you can see different sides of them versus being like a short Looney Tunes cartoon. You get to see like them being responsible or interacting with others, and like how they like made like Lola Bunny kind of like a dit and all that. So I feel like you get to see more personality from the characters, and I guess the HBO they did like a reboot, but I think it was more true to the original Looney Tunes with like more shorter episodes with different scenarios and stuff like that versus like the Looney Tunes shows with like, hey, they have a home, they have relationships with their friends and all that. So then I know it's like some people complain about Wabbit, which is like another. I think it's more like a Bugs Bunny focused reboot of Looney Tunes. I think with that one, a lot of people got turned off by the designs and characters and stuff like that. And it's one of the things like some people kind of like, oh, that's different, so different means bad. And I don't know, I think maybe that needs to be given a better chance or watch, because I remember kind of liking some of the designs in Wabbit for like Yosemite Sam and Tasmanian Devil and all that. I think sometimes they lean into like, oh, this is what modern cartoons do with their humor, whether it be like gross out or wacky or stuff like that, or I don't know what you want to call it, but I just wonder if that's going to spill into the Tiny Toons reboot. If they're going to be too much like wacky humor, like we're being dumb and wacky or making wacky faces, but it definitely piques my interest and all that. Oh yeah, and also fun. I don't think it's really considered a reboot, but also on HBO Max. Not sponsored or anything. I know I mentioned like the platform a few times, but Jellystone is a fun one. I haven't watched like too much of it. I remember the Cartoon Network when I used to pay for cable. You used to air some of it too. Like I think they did with the Looney Tunes, like it was an HBO Max exclusive, but I think they kind of trickled some episodes to Cartoon Network to kind of like. I don't know if that attracted people or what to the streaming platform. But Jellystone was this basic, kind of its own thing, but it had a bunch of like the Hanna-Barbera characters like Jabberjaw and Yogi Bear. I think Yogi Bear was a big one with Yogi Bear and Boo Boo and Augie Doggy and Doggy Dad. And yeah, that's fun. I do recommend checking that out because I think it's from the creator of Chowder who created that show or worked on that show or something like that. It does feel like it with the character designs. And it's kind of fun to just kind of wacky and create scenarios and stuff like that. Oh, God, I'm trying to remember, like, there used to be, like, old movies with all the Hanna-Barbera, because we remember, like, Huckleberry Hound and Snagglepuss or something like that. And maybe I felt like Hanna-Barbera did some crossover movies too, not just like the Flintstones and Jetsons, but I feel like it had one with a lot of the main characters, or the typical go-tos when it comes to Hanna-Barbera, which was so much fun. But also, now they did on HBO Max. I'm not sure how the animation, because they've been really weird with that. Like even with the original animation, like getting rid of it. Like when they did some of the original seasons, at least they're like HBO Max original season of Infinity Train. So it's really weird, and I think then by the end of this month, it's going to change it to Max with the merger of Discovery and HBO and Warner Bros. It's weird and all that. And I guess one other reboot, even though I've never been too big of, into the series, is the Thundercats. So I think that was big in the 80s. I felt like in the 90s and 2000s, they kind of tried to reboot it and still kind of kept it as an action show, maybe a bit more dramatic. But I feel like this kind of became like a cult classic, and I kind of wished more would happen with it. And then there's like, is it Thundercats Roar? I forget. I'm not sure if it's made by the same people who do Teen Titans. I'm not sure if it was really stuck. I haven't checked with it. I know they did a crossover episode of Teen Titans Go and Thundercats Roar. And I think it definitely leaned on that silly humor. So I think that's why it turned off a lot of people. Kind of like Teen Titans Go does with really wacky different character models and all that. Also with reboot, I heard one of the Rise of the Ninja Turtles. Like, Ninja Turtles, I think it got rebooted like maybe even 3 times. There's a classic one. So I like cartoon reboots. You should check them out. I still got to finish up DuckTales. I know that's been over for a while, but yeah. And I think reboots can be very interesting because it can be, if it's a very different take. And I don't know. I guess it's gonna depend on the show. Like when it comes to like, is it you want to do like a revival to stay true? Because if they like rebooted King of the Hill and made it completely different, I think that would fail. But doing revival, I'm not sure how soon that's coming up. Oh, but more recent Clone High. I think since they're going for a revival and not continuing the story, even though it's been so many years, which is kind of fun. It'll be kind of interesting to see that because it's like literally time skip just because a huge gap in production. I think that's definitely going to work for the show, so I'm kind of excited to see that. But yeah, that's kind of some other stuff I want to talk about. Okay, and then next up, kind of changing up for the podcast. I'm not sure if I'm going to do this more often, but I've been kind of diving in. I already heard this subreddit called "Am I the Asshole?" So I figured I would do a little segment talking about it, some entries and stuff like that. With it, a lot of these like really longly wrote out in terms of like a few paragraphs. I'm not going to like read everyone verbatim, but for the first, and if you don't know what "Am I the Asshole?" is, or it's AITA, I said AITA. Is basically someone posts a story and asks like, "Am I the asshole?" And then people in the comments like, "You're the asshole" or "Not the asshole," NTA or YTA, and yeah, it's kind of like interesting. Like it's kind of like people watching in terms of the scenario. It'll even find they have like a voting guide. Like they have different one. Like, you would be the asshole. You would not be the asshole. Everyone sucks here. Oh, that's funny. I just like realized that right now, or not enough info. But this first one is, am I the asshole for canceling vacation plans because my wife can't pay her share after helping her adult son and ex-husband? So this one kind of goes into a little bit of information. Like they say that the OP, the poster, makes more money than her. So they do split the expense of like 70-30. So... And I feel like that can be a little tricky too when you're in like a marriage or relationship, and there's a different balance in terms of if income you make and all that. So they're planning a vacation, but the thing is like, I'm just gonna like cut it short. But she ended up like spending all the money helping out her adult son, who's like 23, from her previous marriage, so it's not his son, and her ex, and then. He told her that he was canceling it. I think it was like the amount was like $5,000 because I think it was like car related. Like there was a car impound and stuff like that. I think even looking at it, a lot of people are like saying not the asshole, and I was kind of on the fence on that too. Like if you had this vacation plan, like I just suck it up and go on. But I kind of lean toward not the asshole, especially like the point that she's going out of the way to financially compensate or her ex and her adult son. So I don't know. I think with the ex, I had more of a problem than just the adult son, but especially if it's impacting their vacation plans. Because if I did like suck it up and go on a vacation, I'll be like annoyed that she didn't pay her part, or she rather spend her finances on her ex versus me versus us kind of thing. So I feel like it was kind of tricky, but I think in this case, even this looking through the subreddit is not the asshole. Like, you could suck it up, but I honestly don't see this marriage actually lasting after this, because there's always going to be those wounds of like the wife being really upset that the vacation was canceled, and this feeling like there's that baggage or like hanging on to her ex, and all that. But that's the first, am I the asshole? And the second one is, am I the asshole for hanging up not safe for work art? And pretty much this kind of like the synopsis of the scenario is that the OP, the poster, is the artist. He does a lot of not safe for work art for a living. It sounds like commissions or things like that, like to use the OC. I'm not sure all the details. It doesn't say like if it's just like nudity or if it's more like sexual acts, like illustrated and all that. But the issue is that her mom friend came over with two kids. One was 13, one was 10. And the younger one was kind of like misbehaving and curious. So she was like describing, like, I guess she has her studio like in the basement or something, can set away. And then like when she was away to get water, the little boy went to the studio and got really upset. Like, part of the people were making arguments that when she caught him and pulled it out, he was crying. But I think it's more like knew he got in trouble and stuff like that. And even worse, like the parents of the children, because the poster also said like the parents, her parents, original poster, knows what she does and doesn't have an issue with it. And she also mentioned, okay, here's a big part of the story, is that she still lives with her parents. They don't mind, she lives with them. They don't want her to move out, so it feels like she lives. That's why the mother's friend was there, and all that. And like the worst thing is like they like yelling at the original posters, like how can we showing the children these pictures and stuff like that. And even like her and the husband wanted compensation for traumatizing a child. And I think, fuck off, like that's like, hey, watch your kid and stuff like that. So I think a lot of people are agreeing, like not the asshole. Like should have been watching the kids. I think maybe in this situation, since it's not her home, maybe have a lock or be a little bit more concealed. I feel like in the post, like they express like, "Hey, do not enter," stuff like that. But I feel like maybe having a lock on the door, this lock when she leaves, it feels like much of a hassle. But like, guests should know, like, hey, respect people's private quarters and private areas, like even if it's a studio. A room. But yeah, I think the parents asking for compensation like says a lot about them, like they're assholes for that. But yeah, like that kind of sucks. Like, yeah, someone even brought up it's kind of suspicious that they want compensation. Like, I'd say that's a lot of people, like if you're trying to find an excuse to like fork money out of her. Because I think they said like the parents even like said get a real job to the OP and all that. So I think maybe even try to be more concealed. I guess like when you're artists, you want to have like stuff pinned up while you're like working, like doing like revisions and things like that. But obviously, definitely not the asshole. Like, could be a little bit more cautious, but definitely not the asshole. Okay, this is funny. I remember posting on this one, and I just realized that the post got taken down. But I do recall it because it was recent, and it's basically, am I the asshole to tell my kids not to bother visiting me if it insists on calling another woman, in this case, the stepmom, mom? I'm not sure if the OP just deleted it because I think they got called out. I like people saying like you're the asshole because she was saying that she's divorced, and a lot of, I have to like recall memory because the post, just I'm looking at it, the post got deleted. it got removed by moderators. I think maybe they were because it got locked and removed. But she like said something like the stepmom was like concerned about like, oh, well, the allergies and stuff like that. They shouldn't be sharing toys and like, I don't know. And it felt like the stepmom, maybe she could have been a little much, but she didn't seem all that bad. Um, but she even got mad that like the stepmom was picking up the kids, and then she got really mad that they call the stepmom mom, and she's like trying to correct her. It seems like she's very jealous. There's one thing that was really weird about the story is that she said that the kids called their biological father by his first name, so they don't call their dad, but they call the stepmom mom. So I think this kind of like holes in the story. I think maybe the kids just call the parents by their first name, and then once they started calling stepmom mom because maybe that's what the stepmom preferred or whatever. I don't know these people, and then got jealous. Even looking at it, it seems like in some comments even got removed. But I think like even in this case, like I would still be the bigger person. Like I wouldn't want my kids to not be a part of my life just because of that. Like I don't know, kind of express like it really bothered me. And it seems like the kids were young, so they can like mature and like change over time and all that. But just kind of I think one of the best comments like congratulations, your kids are more mature than you kind of thing. Because I think the OP also mentioned that she got remarried as well. I think she has stepkids or I don't know, whatever. But it's just like this a thing about being upset that kids didn't call her mom and they call her the stepmom mom. It mentions like too like visitation and what you kind of call it when you go through the divorce, custody. Yeah, that's it. So there's kind of like some weird iffy things about the story. But I think this last one is you're the asshole. So let me know if I should revisit this again. I'm not sure if other YouTubers do that as well. But it's like one of those things like one of those Reddits that you can just like dive into just to see what people just kind of like test the waters and see if people like okay these people like have common sense or not, or like it's like when it's like okay this person's an asshole and these people agreeing with me, or vice versa and stuff like that. So it's like mentally like do people have the common sense or self-awareness when they how they interact with other people and all that. But kind of a fun subreddit. I might have to look into this more often. And to end the podcast, it's kind of running a little longer one. It's been a while, so I just kind of skipped one. But bringing back the whatever news, or the whatever report. That's what I've been calling it, the whatever report. So just kind of like to go through some wacky stories that I find. And this first one is about a police that are responding to a person crying for help. But it turns out it was just a really upset goat and all that. So it's kind of a funny story. And it took place in Oklahoma. I'm not sure if people like were concerned, like if people just like heard this goat crying out. I feel like you even hear that sometimes, like a goat can sound like an old crying lady or stuff like that, and like freak out. But then they realize like, oh, it wasn't actually a person; it was a goat. Also, kind of reminds me, remember those screaming goat videos were a big thing on YouTube and Twitter and all that? Kind of made me think about that. So, kind of a funny story for like doing a police call, responding to a call, but also kind of a funny waste of time. But imagine like thinking like someone crying for help or like constantly yelling just to realize, oh, it's just a goat. So that's kind of the goat when it comes to funny animal stories this week. Okay, this is kind of a weird story. Maybe have to look into it a little bit more. But the headline is, Suspicious Surfboard Ye Can on Wheels Lead Chicago's Cops to Shut Down Street. I'm not sure where the street. I'm looking at the picture. It looks like, I'm not sure how they said it. It looks like some tape. It looks kind of like skateboard wheels and maybe like some long wooden pegs. But it looks weird. I'm not sure where it came from. But then people like... I even see like tweets saying it was a suspicious package and all that, but I'm just curious, like, who the hell would think of making this thing? Because it's like a makeshift, like it feels like a little kid would make this. Like at the board they don't have toys, so they get a can of ravioli, some wheels, and whatever pegs or sticks or whatever. It looks like a funny makeshift toy. Not too much to the story, but it shut down the street, and I guess maybe they thought there was like a bomb or something. That's like kind of like weird thing. Just looking at the picture, like that shaped can on wheels is a major threat to society and all that. So this next story might be pretty interesting as well because it's AI related. So the fast food restaurant Wendy's is going to test out an AI chatbot to take drive-through orders. So I think there's not too much to the story, just kind of like announcing their plans and all that. But it seems like it's going to be tested in Columbus, Ohio, in June, and it's like called Wendy's Fresh AI. Yeah, I think they say like the AI is going to be smart enough to know when you say Biggie Bag, what that is, or JBC is short for Junior Bacon Cheeseburger, which I've never ever heard somebody refer to a Junior Bacon Cheeseburger as JBC, but that's kind of funny. But I'm kind of curious how it works out. That's one thing. Like, I haven't had too much trouble like with Wendy's or most fast food places when it comes to order, like with a real person. I would worry if AI would like mess up the order or stuff like that. On that, but one of the things I get really that I had more issues with is McDonald's, because sometimes when I order from McDonald's, it seems like every single time they don't show my order on the screen. I don't know why. Sometimes like it's not up there. Something gets messed up. Like I don't want to be a dick and say, like, "Hey, show the order on the screen," kind of thing when I go through the drive-through. But it's like, let's see. Like the even article kind of mentioned like issues with the cashier list kiosk at McDonald's, which I think are fine, but I don't know. I would always worry that that would just cause like holdups in the drive-through if it's like AI and it's like issues like not getting the order right, or they should have like an override like you can talk to your person. So we'll see. I pretty much don't do too much with fast food in terms of like apps and ordering ahead or online orders and stuff like that. You know, I just go through the drive-through and all that. But kind of interesting that AI is gonna affect drive-throughs with fast food restaurants. And this last story, not too much with it, but it's like, who thought of this idea? But this happened with the Starbucks. Apparently it's in Italy, called the Oleto, I think, and it combines coffee with olive oil. And that just sounds nasty, but they have like different flavors, and I guess it's supposed to be more smoother and sweet and lush. But the problem with these olive oil infused coffee drinks from Starbucks is that they're causing a lot of like diarrhea of pooping and stuff like that. See, in some cases vomiting, but it seems like stomach aches, bowel problems, because it seems like drinking oil just sounds bad. So we'd want to. I'm sure it's like ratioed in a way that's not like you're chugging straight olive oil, but who would think putting olive oil in coffee? Although, let me know if I doubt anyone's listening at this point, but have anyone heard of putting butter in coffee? Because I'm kind of curious if that's worth it. Because usually I'm kind of cream. Usually I just get a flavored creamer. One thing I want to mention, ice cream goes really good with coffee. Like if you want kind of like an ice style coffee, do ice cream, like chocolate ice cream and coffee or vanilla, all that. Not with other flavors, but coffee and ice cream is actually really good. And that's it. I think this is a really good place to end the podcast because you need some landscaping around, and I'm not sure if the leaf blower is popping up on the stream, on the microphone. And then again, who's listening? That's like one of my catchphrases is who's listening to this, but that's what to do it for this week. I'm not sure how often I'll do. I think this is going to be more sporadic unless I get more of like a community thing or more to play off of. And let's do more happen in the world that I want to talk about. But that would do it for the day. So y'all take care. Have a good day. And again, best way to support me is like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know anything, feedback. I love that. But anyways, y'all take care and goodbye.